Oh my goodness, guys, the markets are not looking so great. Today was a rough day. The S&P went down 1%, the Dow went down 0.1%, and we saw the Nasdaq 100 and the Russell go down 2.6%. So in this video, we're going to break down some technicals, go over stocks I'm watching now, and in general, what my thoughts are on the market. So sit back, relax, take a sip of your coffee, and let's get right into the video. So if you guys were looking at the futures market last night, well, the futures were green. In fact, SPY was at an all-time high at 423.59, and in the pre-market session, things were looking pretty good as well. You saw SPY holding 422.50. That was roughly the high from Friday, so we were holding that today in the pre-market, and then all of a sudden, guys, we ended up tanking around midday. We saw consolidation all throughout the first half of the day. In fact, we had an inverse head and shoulder here. You guys can see the left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder. We failed at breaking out, and that was right at the middle of the day. And then, boom, we sold off from 422.60 all the way down now to 417.59 in the after-hour session. That was a drop of over 1%, closer to 1.2%. So overall, guys, based on this massive drop, SPY isn't necessarily crashing, but it is back under that 420 level, and 420 was a key spot considering that was the high from back in the end of April. And we also broke the 50 and the 180 moving averages here on the hourly chart, which leads me to believe 414, 415, that could be where we go, considering that is the current uptrend, or at least based on this trend line that I just drew, that is where the uptrend would hold. So maybe we go down another $2-3 here on SPY, and I'm thinking if 415 breaks, we break under 410 as well, which was the low from the end of April. Maybe we end up seeing an extended sell-off here towards 408, maybe 405, and if 405 were to break, guys, now we're talking about levels that we haven't been at since the middle of March. Maybe 398, that was the high from the middle of March. Maybe we end up going back to the high 300s. That could be the next target. And you all know QQQ, especially if you watched my video earlier where we talked about Cathie Wood, whether or not her stocks are being targeted. Make sure to go check that video out if you haven't, and wait till obviously after this video to go check that out. And we covered how QQQ was tanking, and since filming that video, it dropped even more, right? And we covered in that video how 326 was a key point considering we double bottomed there last week. And we also talked about how 335, which was support in the end of April, that ended up not breaking today. We saw on Friday we tried breaking it. In fact, we got to 336, and then pre-market today we struggled at 335, and we ended up dumping and getting rejected by that 180 SMA on the hourly chart. And on the 5-day 5-minute, you guys can see once the markets open, we hit 333, and then boom, snap of a finger, this thing dumped to 328, and then closed the day at about 325. Now it's at 324 in the aftermarket hours, and I believe when we filmed that video, the Cathie Wood video, QQQ was sitting at about 328, 327, and it dumped, like I said, even more after filming that video. So this is not the best technical pattern for QQQ, quite honestly. And yes, you could argue in the short term it's oversold. Maybe we get a relief rally, but I wouldn't be surprised if we sold off even more from here, maybe down to about 320, 322. That is the high from back in the middle of March. Maybe that is the next spot we end up getting to. Then maybe from there we get a relief rally followed by more selling potentially. And I think that we're still going to be seeing a rocky market these next couple of weeks, and I mentioned that earlier today, and I'm still sticking to that, guys, and we've talked about that in the past couple of days as well. And look at the VIX. I mean, when we talked about the VIX recently, we were talking about it at 17, and now it's at almost 19, or almost 20 rather. It went up 18% today, so the VIX is creeping up, fear is kicking up, inflation is here, and fear of further inflation is here, and maybe that is why we're seeing a rotation, and we've been seeing this, quite honestly. It's nothing new. We've seen this rotation out of the higher risk, high multiple growth stocks into the more cyclical names, the Caterpillars of the world. We've seen the banks do very well. We've seen a bunch of stocks do well, except the tech stocks, right? A lot of these higher growth stocks have not been doing so well. But on the flip side, hey, gold ended up holding up today. Gold went up $5.70. It's currently up $5.70, up 0.3%. And silver went down a little bit, down 0.3%. But the fact that they held up in the midst of the sell-off, not only in the stock market, but have you guys seen crypto? I mean, I'm not going to pull up any crypto screenshots right now, but on my Coinbase app, I was looking at it before making this video. I saw Bitcoin down under 55,000. Ethereum was down to 3,800, and mind you, Bitcoin was down 6%, Ethereum down 4 or 5%. Not too bad in the grand scheme of things, but a lot of the altcoins, the other altcoins, they were down a lot more. Polkadot was down 20%. I saw ADA, Cardano, that was down about 10% last time I checked. Dogecoin was hovering in the mid 40-cent range. So a lot of these cryptos are getting slammed today, and it's good to see gold, although I don't really view gold necessarily as an investment, the precious metal itself. I view it more as a savings account and a hedge against inflation. It's good to see that holding up as everything pretty much, everything else is pretty much red. So what are your thoughts? Let me know down below in the comments. As always, I would love to know, guys. I love interacting with you all in the comments. And let's talk about some stocks now, two of which, at least the first two here, they just reported earnings. Wynn Resorts is the first one, ticker symbol WYNN, and this stock is up almost $3 after hours after missing on both revenue and on EPS. EPS came in at negative $2.53 versus negative $1.98 estimated, so they missed on EPS, and revenue also missed, like I said, $725.8 million versus $758.02 million estimated, so Wynn double miss, and the stock is up. Isn't that kind of weird? We get a company that does well with earnings and the stock goes down, but a company doesn't do so well and the stock goes up, right? What else can I say? This is just the market that we're living in right now, I guess. And overall, look at this. I mean, Wynn's down about $20 from its peak, down about 11%, and the chart is looking pretty solid. I mean, out of all of these stocks that I've been looking at, this chart is not that bad, considering, like we've talked about, tech stocks haven't done so well. So I'm looking to see if Wynn could maybe make a push out of the wedge here, out of the 180 SMA, and maybe towards the mid to high 130s. Who's to say that can't happen? I mean, yeah, the markets are weird. Like I said, earnings are good, stock goes down. Earnings are bad, stock goes up. So maybe we keep going up in this case, and I put an alert at 130. Maybe we break that, and maybe we go up, like I said, to the mid-high 130s. So I'm going to put an alert at $130 on Wynn Resorts. So we'll see if that ends up breaking maybe tomorrow, some point this week. And Virgin Galactic, guys, this thing is getting destroyed. It went down another 8% today, down $1.70. We know the test flight's coming up, but investors, quite frankly, they don't care, at least as of now. They don't care because the stock keeps going down, 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 and again. And they lost 55 cents per share versus the negative 27 cent estimated by the analysts. So they missed EPS. We all know they don't make any money, so we're not even going to look at the revenue figure. And they lost almost $130 million in the quarter, guys. That is just ridiculous. They're losing so much money, and this is why this is a speculative play for me. I would never put anything that I'm not willing to lose in a company like Virgin Galactic that doesn't make money, and they're losing hundreds of millions per year. Do you realize if they lost $130 million per quarter, 130 times 3, what is that? About 500, a little over $500 million of a loss for a year. That is unbelievable. So, I mean, at this point in time, yeah, you could argue that Virgin Galactic is super oversold, which I agree, it is. If it gets into the lower teens, like I mentioned yesterday, I'm willing to buy more, maybe a little bit more to add to my speculative position. And at this point, how much lower could it go? I mean, a lot is riding on this test flight. I have a feeling if the test flight goes well, maybe we do end up getting back into the mid 20 level. And that is a pretty big move from where we are now. And there's definitely going to be volatility between now and then. But at some point, it's going to be pricing in all of the bad news. And I believe we're getting there. We're slowly getting to that point in terms of the price, considering it's down 72% from the high back in, when was this? The beginning of February. So I'm not really banking on a massive rally. I'm not buying call options and, buying a ton of shares on this. I'm just playing it day by day with Virgin Galactic. But again, if we get a good test flight, good news, good guidance, whatever, that is going to push the stock up because, again, how much bad news is priced in at this point? Pretty much all of it, unless we get some crazy catastrophic event, which I hope hopefully doesn't happen. But yeah, those are my thoughts there on Virgin Galactic. And SQQQ, this is one that I'm also going to be watching. This is a way to kind of play the downside in the markets, and this is a leveraged ETF. And by the way, guys, these are not meant to be swing traded. They're not meant to be long-term investments. These are strictly day trading vehicles. And if you think the Nasdaq is going to go down in one day, and by the way, this trades based on QQQ, which tracks the Nasdaq 100. So for example, if QQQ goes down 1%, SQQQ is going to go up 3%, right? It's a 3x leverage ETF. So if I think QQQ will go down 1%, the markets are looking rocky. Like a day like today. Today would have been great to trade SQQQ. You'd be able to trade this and make money on the downside. But again, where people get caught up in something like this is when they swing trade it, when they buy it and think it's a long-term investment, or they think, oh, the market's going to crash in a month, I might as well just buy this and hold it. And that is a very bad idea because these ETFs, they're a lot more complicated than the average person could understand. Even me, guys, they're super complicated, and the prospectus is super long. There's a lot of warnings, and the way these are structured is they decay. They decay over time, and that's why they're not meant to be held as swing trades or long-term investments. But if you're looking at these as day trading tools, you could do well. You can do well, especially if you think the markets are rocky, right? If you see technical patterns of a lower market, of a lower Nasdaq 100, you could very well do well with SQQQ, right? So I'm watching that not only today and tomorrow, but for the rest of this week and for the next couple of weeks at that, guys. And look at First Majestic Silver. This did very well. Well, maybe not at the close. It went down 3.6%, down 60 cents. But earlier in the day, look at what we saw, guys. We saw a kick up in volume. We got a break out of the moving averages and of the wedge overall. And we hit almost $17 per share, $16.99 to be exact. And then this thing cratered. It dumped from 17 all the way down to where it closed roughly at about 15.80. And I believe we got the momentum, right? That is what we wanted to see, the momentum out of the wedge. Now we just need to see if we start breaking out again, right? This is the real test, because if we end up dumping, let's say, back down low 15s, maybe back into the 14s, that means the bears are winning the fight. But if we end up holding on this 5-day, 5-minute, check this out. If we end up holding, let's say, the high 15s and crack back into the 16s, mid 16s, that means the bulls will be gaining momentum and winning the fight, in other words. So watch out for AG. This one has a lot more upside, not even just a 17. I'm thinking to the higher teens, low 20s is where this could end up getting to. And I'm bullish on silver, gold, these gold, silver stocks. You guys know that. So I'm going to be watching AG quite closely, as there is, let's say if it gets to $20, there's upside of close to 20%. So I like this one, ticker symbol AG. EA is another one I'm looking at. They report earnings. Is it tomorrow, I believe? Yeah, they report earnings tomorrow after market hours. And this one has been stuck in this range with a resistance at about $150. It's been stuck here for, guys, a year. I mean, it's been since last July. I mean, this stock hasn't done anything. Look at this. The stock was at $145 back in July. It went down to $113. So if you bought in the 120s, 110s, you would have made money. Obviously, you'd still be up. But if you bought at $140 a year ago, you're not even up yet. That is pretty crazy. So we've hit $145 multiple times. We failed breaking out of it, but we've also been making higher lows in the process, right? The first low was at $88, followed by $110, followed by $128, which was back 2 months ago. And I'm thinking we could squeeze out of 145. It depends on the earnings, right? If the earnings are good, revenue, EPS, guidance, forward guidance, all that good stuff, if that is looking good, we might be able to break out of that level and see some gains, maybe up to 150, 155. Hey, maybe we hit an all-time high above $152, maybe to the 160s. So I'm watching EA heading into those earnings tomorrow. We had Coinbase today, guys. This thing went ballistic, right? This thing went up 11%, closed above $293, up almost $30 on the day. And the downtrend overall, let's get this out of the way, the downtrend is still intact, right? We're making lower lows and potentially a lower high right here at 295 if we fail, right? And if we fail here, we may be going back to test those lows at 250. But here's the interesting part, guys. I'm thinking if we end up taking out $300, which is a pivotal level of resistance, 300 to 305 from back in the end, towards the end of April, right? If we end up breaking that, this is going to be the change of tide, in my opinion. The turn of momentum, if you will, maybe back up towards the mid 300s, right? And you all know, especially if you're in my Patreon where you get all my real-time buy and sell alerts, call-outs, morning updates, you get more access to me. You guys know that I've bought Coinbase twice, right? I bought at 330 roughly, and I recently bought at 279. So I think I'm well positioned in this stock for this breakout, and who knows, maybe I buy into the breakout. Let's say if it breaks 300, 305, 310, maybe I start adding into that momentum on the ride back up, because at this point in time, let's be honest, right? There's Voyager, there's Binance, there's BlockFi, there's a lot of these great platforms, but Coinbase, in my opinion, and we could argue down below, at this point in time, it's still the top dog. It still has first mover advantage, and they make a lot of money, and they have a pretty big customer base. So I think there's a lot of upside left in this stock. And the crypto space, the brokerage, the exchange space, it's not a winner take all. There's going to be a lot of winners in this market, so I think they could all coexist. And maybe Coinbase is not the top dog 5-10 years from now, and that very well could happen, that it's not the top dog. But as of now, it is. That's just the truth of the matter here. And this stock is Cathie Wood's 10th biggest investment, right? And out of all her stocks, which we mentioned in the previous video today, they've been getting crushed not only today, but the past couple of weeks. Coinbase was the only one that did well today, although, yes, it has been doing poorly the past couple of weeks, but it's good to see Coinbase finally start kicking up. And Palantir, last stock for today, guys. This is one that, full disclosure, I don't own. I haven't bought this one, and I'm not sure if I even will buy it. Probably not. It's kind of out of my circle of competence in a way. I mean, I do understand the company, but I'm not fully there with Palantir, and I haven't really done the research either to go deep into it. And maybe that's going to be detrimental to me in the future. Who knows? We'll see. Maybe I'll regret not investing in Palantir. And I haven't really ruled it out completely yet, but I'm still not there with putting 100 shares in or 200 shares in and adding over time. I'm not there quite yet, and I'll let you all know what happens with that. But overall, my short-term prediction of this descending triangle playing out, which we've been calling for the past couple of weeks, and we mentioned it yesterday, it's playing out. It played out even more today. It went down 6.5%, and we covered in yesterday's video, which is why you guys must subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We covered how on Friday we peaked under $20, and we also did that on Thursday, peaking into 19, which was a very bad sign considering $20 held all of April, all of March pretty much, and in the end of February as well. So the fact that we peaked under $20.50 on Thursday and Friday, that showed me that bears were slowly pushing this thing further down. Momentum was leaning towards the downside, and today was really that full-on confirmation that this could go even lower, maybe down to the lower teen, maybe not lower teens, but mid-teens at least, $15, $16, $17. And a lot of it depends on the earnings tomorrow. Earnings come out on the 11th tomorrow before the market, so this one is going to be a mover. And pretty much everything, at least in the short term, is riding on these earnings. If EPS is good, revenue is good, the stock, well, with the logic the market has these days, if EPS is good, revenue is good, the stock's going to go down. So let's say if you want Palantir to go up in price, you better be praying right now that they miss EPS, they miss revenue, guidance is crap. In that case, with the market logic these days, Palantir is going to go up, guys. So I guess we're going to wrap it up there. And obviously, I'm joking, although that very well could happen. We'll see how it goes down. But we'll wrap it up there. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Make sure to grab yourself 2 stocks from WeBull. Those are valued up to $1,600. All you have to do is deposit $100 and you get those 2 stocks. You could also get $30 from M1 Finance by also depositing $100. All of those are linked down below. You could also check out my Patreon for real-time buy and sell alerts, call outs, my trades, morning update videos. All of that stuff is on Patreon, or you can go to patreon.com/DasserFest. That's patreon.com/DasserFest. I'll see you all there. And if you guys want to see 2 ways that hedge funds manipulate stocks, I made this video on Saturday. It's a very good video. Make sure to go check that out. I'll link it right up here. Click that, or I'll also link that one right down below. I'll see you all there. Thanks for watching. As always, stay safe out there. Keep crushing the markets, guys. Peace out.